Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today guys, we will be reading chapter 14 of Pet Trouble, Mud Puddle Poodle, and yeah, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment all down below. So yeah, if you don't, you will die. I'm just kidding, you won't die, but you'll be, I'll go to your house and eat all your cookies. How about that? So subscribe, guys, or else I will eat all your cookies, and I will delete your Fortnite account if you have one. Please don't have a Fortnite account. It's bad. It's bad for you. Okay, let's get started. Chapter 14. That will be 75 cents, I said to Heidi. Tyler, she had 3 different kinds of cookies in her hands, and there were already crumbs all over her shirt. Oh man, how did I do that? Heidi said, trying to brush them off, and then more crumbs in her hair. Here you go, Rosie. She handed me a $5 bill, and I gave her $4 and a quarter change. You do that so fast, said Charlie Grayson. I have to think about it for half an hour. Charlie is the shortest boy in our class. He's really quiet, like Danny's friend Eric, who I mentioned earlier, so I was glad he was at my table for the bake sale. He let me handle all the money, which was totally fun, and he didn't tell on me when I accidentally broke one of the cookies. Maybe because I let him have the other half. Our table was at the front door of the school. Pippa and Arnold Scott were at the table at the back door, so we could be sure to get everyone going in and out at the end of the day. And Michelle and Curry Drake were standing at the entrance to the parking lot with a big sign, so parents would have their money ready by the time they got to the doors. We sold half of the stuff during lunch, and everything else was nearly gone only 15 minutes after school ended. But there was still one peppermint meringue cookie left when Eric Lee came by the table that he bought it, which confirmed my opinion that Eric is cooler than your average 6th grade boy. He was all quiet and mumbly about it too, which I thought was cute. At one point, while I was counting our change, I sensed someone sneaking up behind me. I whipped around and grabbed Isaac's wrist right before he pulled off my ribbon. Isaac, stop it! I snapped. Are you such a brat? I didn't do anything, he protested, yanking on his arm. Well, buy a cookie or go away, I said. He bought a cookie, then went away, which was the best of both worlds. A pair of little brown eyes peeked over the top table. I leaned forward and saw that it was Eden, Troy's little sister, and she had this huge smile on her face, like always. Next to her was another 2nd grader girl who looked familiar, but I wasn't sure who she was. She had straight back hair and 2 pigtails and glasses with blue frames. Can I have a cookie for me and one for Nyan too? Eden said in a sweet sing-song voice. She reached up and put 2 quarters on the table. Sure, I said. Do you want a peanut butter or chocolate chip cookie or chocolate? Wait. Do you want peanut butter or chocolate chip or chocolate chip? Huh? Eden looked thoughtful. That was clearly a very important decision. Peanut butter, said Nyan. She looked behind her at her cart that was pulling into one of the parking spots. Okay, she said. Peanut butter? Okay. I was totally excited when I saw that it was Miru driving her car. I realized Nyan must be her little sister. She parked and came over to us, swinging her keys around her fingers, all cool like, I'm going to swing my keys like that when I can drive. Sure, she said. I'll have one too. Hi, Rosie. Hey, Miru. I said, taking her quarter and trying to act as if I was hanging out with high schoolers all the time. Charlie looked at all wide-eyed and amazed that I knew a high schooler, especially one as cool as Miru. Last two, I said, giving one to Yun and one to Miru. Chocolate chip, chocolate chip! Eden burst out. Good choice, I said, handing her to the cookie in the napkin. Her smile got even bigger, and she ran off to join Troy and Parker in the playgrounds. Looks like you're almost done, Miru said, nodding at the empty plates on the table. I know, I said. I thought I was going to be here until four at least. Mom's not supposed to pick me up until then, when she's done at the store. I want to ride home? Miru asked. Did I? A ride in Miru's car? Holy cow! Yeah, okay, I said with a shrug. I'll call your mom and make sure it's all right. Miru said, pulling out her cell phone. Come on, Yun. Let's wait for Rosie to sell the rest of her cookies. We could help, Yun said through a mouthful of cookie. We could eat them all. We could eat them all. Okay, I actually like Yun, guys, because I don't have to, make the TH sounds because it just said DEM, them all. It's like this book exactly understands me so well. Miru laughed and took her sister over to the steps. She's my brother's girlfriend, they said to Charlie. We're like practical best friends. Wow, he said, my big brother barely even speaks to me. We won't let me anywhere near his friends. Oh, I said. That sounded sad. I didn't know Charlie had a big brother. When we finally sold all the cookies, Miss Applebaum took the money box and told us we did a great job. She said she'd put away the table and everything so I could go home. The coolest part is that Miru let me sit in the front seat and Yun didn't mind or anything. I never get to sit in the front seat in my parents' car. Are you coming to see Oliver? I said, Miru, as we pulled out of the school parking lot. She snorted. I'm sure he doesn't want me to. I'm sure he does, I said. Yeah, right, she said. He doesn't care about anything except college applications. I want a guy who can be sensitive and emotional. Rosie, like you. You can, like you. You know what happened on Sunday. I remember Oliver coming home early from their bike ride. You were busy, I guess. Ha, she said. I'll tell you what happened. We got to my house, and I was like, okay, awesome. What should we do now? And he was like, I don't know. What do you want to do? And I said, I don't know. What do you want to do? And he was like, wow, man, I'm totally freaking out about college applications, aren't you? And I was like, wait, so you want to go home and work on them? And he was like, oh, I don't know. Do you? And I was like, dude, if that's what you want, then fine. I have stuff to do anyway. And he was like, oh, well, I guess if you have stuff to do. And I was like, yeah, I totally do. Bye then. And he was like, okay, bye then. Can you believe that? I said, believe what? That he did what? That! I'm telling you, Rosie. Hold out. I'm telling you, Rosie. Hold out for a good guy. Make him. Hold it out, Rosie. Wait. Hold it out for a good guy. Make him tell you he likes you up front so it's not all confusing and lame. Well, she was right about one thing. I was really confused. Oliver doesn't like you, I said. That was the confused. Oliver doesn't like you. Oliver does like you, I said. That was the one thing I was pretty sure of. He acts like it, Miru said. He's all closed off and quiet and whatever. Oliver was totally not quiet. Was not quiet. At least not around my other brothers. I just wish he cared about anything, Miru said. Right then I had a brilliant idea, and this one was really brilliant. Not paint my dog's nails pink brilliant. Oh my. Okay, I want to show you something, I said. At my house really quick, okay? Quickly, okay? We pulled into my driveway. Miri didn't ask a bunch of questions. She just turned off the car, told Yun to stay there, and followed me over to the window that looks into the room. Sure enough, Oliver was there playing with buttons. They were both lying on the carpet facing each other. Oliver made his hand sneak up on buttons. She would be watching one intently. Playing with buttons. They were both lying intently, and then the other would creep up on the other hand, on other side, so she'd spin around, and then the other hand would make a break for it. He swept his hand under her, but he was too fast for her, so she chased it all around the carpet, going yip. Finally, she caught the cuffs of his long-sleeved shirt, backing up, trying to drag his hand along behind her. Oliver started laughing so hard he had to roll onto his back, of course. Buttons instantly dropped the sleeve and sprang in onto his chest, and braced herself on his shoulders, and stretched down to lick his nose. Oliver put his hand to stop her, and she happily licked his hands instead. Then she sat down on his chest with a pleased look, like she had just found Antarctica and claimed it for the kingdom of buttons. Whoa, Mira whispered. Cute, right? I said. For a moment, I was worried if she didn't think it was cute, that this could be the end of Oliver and Miru, and it would be my fault. But how could she look at him with buttons and think he didn't care about anything? Oliver was a big softy. That was the truth. Miru smiled at me. Yeah, okay, he said. Pretty cute. Maybe he's not so bad, I tried. Maybe I'll just say hi for a minute, she said. We got Yun from the car and went inside. Oliver sat up, and when we walked in, his hair was all messed up from rolling around on the carpet. He looked really surprised to see Miru. Oh, he said, hi, I didn't think. Come here, Miru said, taking his hand and disappearing into the den with him. Buttons bounded over and tried to climb my leg. I picked her up and let Yun pet her. Want to see if there are any extra meringue cookies hiding in the kitchen? I said to her. Yes, she said, nodding to her pigtails bounced around. Yun ate her cookie while I practiced Buttons' tricks using dog treats. I let Yun give her a treat too. Buttons delicately licked it out of her hand and then wagged her tail, giving Yun big moon eyes like Yun was her new best friend ever. Yun giggled a lot when that happened. Miru didn't stay for long, but Oliver looked much, much happier after she left. He even came outside to run around the yard with me in Buttons, which really meant he ran around the yard with her while she barked and barked with joy. I walked because I don't like to run, but it was perfect because it tired her out. And then he called Buttons the best dog ever, too. Look at that, I said to her at bedtime. I think my brothers like you even more they like me. She jumped into her bed and smiled up at me, panting. Then she went dig, 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 until my t-shirt was exactly the way she wanted it. And then she conked out. I was happy, though. I felt like I had helped Oliver and Miru in a good way. Now maybe Oliver wouldn't be so mopey anymore. That should make up for all the times he let me use his computer, right? Right? And it was just me. Buttons and had helped too. For such a bad dog, sometimes she did remarkably good things, even if she didn't know she was doing them. Good night, Buttons, I whispered. Snizzer, she replied. Chapter 15. Buttons woke me Saturday. Buttons woke me Saturday morning by trying to lick off my ears. Ugh, I yelled, fending her off. Buttons, how did you get up here? Then I saw my mom sitting on the bed with us. Morning, Chiquatia. I don't know how to speak Spanish that well. Morning, Chiquita, Mom said. I'm making pancakes, and then your dad would love to go to the park with you and Buttons. Puppy pancakes and park, I said, fluffing Buttons' fur around her face. She flopped over on her back, and I threw the sheets over her. Buttons yammered, rolling around and wrestling with the covers. I pulled the sheets back again, and she lay there with her paws in the air, her black eyes sparkling mischievously at me. I rubbed her tummy. She wriggled to her paws and bounced over to bury herself in my pillows. 5 minutes. Let me sit up, guys. 5 minutes. Where am I? 5 minutes to pancakes, Mom said, and left the room. I got dressed quickly and carried Buttons downstairs. I don't know if she could tell that I was excited, but she seemed excited too. She scrambled up to my shoulder, grabbed my pink hair ribbon in her teeth, and shook it with a little ruff. Buttons, leave it alone, I said, rescuing my ribbon and putting Buttons down on the living room floor. Dad was setting the table for pancakes. He grinned when he saw me. Would you mind some company today? He asked. I want to play with this famous dog, too. Sure, I said. The best thing about doing stuff with Dad is he usually buys me ice cream on the way home, even if it's nearly dinner time. So I can't imagine ever saying no to him. Plus, maybe I could get him to give Buttons her bath when we got home. Only Miguel and Carlos were there for breakfast. Oliver was already out with Miru, and Danny apparently left early to go hang out with Parker. And of course, Merlin. Dad asked my brothers if they wanted to come with us, but Miguel had friends coming over to play video games, and Mom wanted Carlos to help her with a computer problem. So it was just Me and Dad and Buttons walking to the park. Walking to the park. Walking to the park. Dad laughed and laughed when he saw the way Buttons wrestled with her leash. She's a character, isn't she? Isn't she? She's a character, isn't she? He said which was funny because I've heard him say the same thing about me. At the park, we decided to try the dog run. I hadn't been in there before, but it was empty when we got there, and it was huge when there were grassy bits and pebbly bits and wood chips bits and a fountain in the middle that you could turn on with your foot. Can I let her off her leash? I asked Dad. It looks all fenced in, Dad said, glancing around. Sure, let's try it. I unclipped the sparkly pink leash from Button's collar and put it in my purse. She sat down and tilted her head at me. Go on, run around, I said, waving at her. She tilted her head the other way. Hey, Buttons, Dad cried. Can't catch me, and he took off running to the other end of the dog. Buttons jumped to her paws, and then when he moved and she looked really startled. It took her a minute to realize where he'd gone, and then she went tearing off for him, going ruff, ruff, ruff. She was yelling, "Don't you dare! I'm gonna get you!" She was nearly as fast as Dad, but the funniest thing is that she was clever, so she kept cutting him off when he went around things or scooting under benches and pouncing on his feet. When he paused to look for her, they were running back toward me when something flew through the air and landed in the dog run. Bun stopped dead and stared at it as if it bounced and rolled into the fountain. She decided to abandon Dad and run over to investigate. Dad and I caught up to her as she was pawing her new treasure, which turned out to be a tennis ball, an old ripped-up tennis ball that looked like it had been seriously drooled on. Lucky Buttons, Dad said. He reached for it, but Buttons jumped in, managed to get her whole tiny mouth around it, and trotted away. She sat down about 10 feet away and gave Dad a look like, "Don't even try it, Buster. I found it. It's mine." She put the ball down between her front paws and sniffed it all over. We heard the gate of the dog run opening behind us, and when we turned around, we saw that it was Danny, Parker, Troy, and Eric, and charging into the dog run ahead of them was perfect Mr. Merlin himself. "Oh no," Danny yelled, spotting us, but the other guys were already waving. "Hi, Rosie. Hi, Mr. Sanchez," they called. Merlin didn't bother saying hi. He rocketed right past us, shot over to Buttons for a moment. I was afraid he'd run right over her without noticing she was there. But he stopped when he was nose to nose with her. His tail was I know it's here somewhere. Wait. His tail was waving so hard I could practically feel the breeze from where I was. Buttons bounced to her paws and trotted around him in a circle, sniffing any part of him she could reach. Merlin stood sniffing with his tail wagging, letting her examine him. The sort of twisted his head back over his shoulder to look at us as if he was hoping we could explain and what the small fluffy thing was doing to him. "Come on, guys, let's go," Danny said to his friends, backing away from him. "Wait, is that your dog?" Parker asked me. "Yep," I said, "that's Buttons." "You didn't tell us you got a dog," Eric said to Danny. You didn't," I said. You didn't," I said. "You didn't," I said. "Danny!" "Well, she's not a real dog," Danny said. "I mean, look at her. She's just a fur ball." "How are you supposed to play with a dog like that? She's for Rosie." "Anyway, that's not true," Dad said. "She's supposed to be for all of you." "Yeah, everyone else likes her," I said. "Including Merlin, apparently," Parker joked. Merlin had dropped into a play valve with his butt up in the air and his tail going like mad. Buttons stepped back and looked at him for a moment, then bounced forward like he was going to pounce on his nose. "Ruff, ruff!" Merlin barked, spitting in a circle, and then suddenly they were running. They didn't even seem to know who was chasing who. Merlin dashed in one direction with Buttons right on his tail, and then Buttons came flying back the other way with Merlin right behind her. She did the same tricks she'd pulled on Dad, where she'd suddenly dart under a bench, and then Merlin kind of spun around looking confused, and then she'd pop out again and take off a million miles an hour, and he'd bark with excitement and go pelting after her. Danny," Parker said, "I hate to be the one to tell you this, but your dog is super cute." "I know she's cute," Danny said. "That's exactly the problem." "Dude, I don't know what you're complaining about," Troy said. "At least you have a dog. At least she'll run outside with you." "Yeah," Eric said. "Try living with two cats who hate you, and then tell me your life is tough." "This is so awesome," Parker said, watching the dogs roll around. Watching the dogs roll around. Around together. "I've been hoping we could find another dog for Merlin to play with. Man, he totally loves her. But she's not the kind of dog who really plays," Danny said. "I mean, look at this." He went over and grabbed the tennis ball that Buttons had dropped. "Hey, dogs," he called. Merlin and Buttons both stopped running and turned to look at him. Danny threw the tennis ball so it flew out all the way to the other end of the dog run. Both dogs took after it. Merlin had longer legs, so he got there first. He picked up the ball in his mouth. "See," Danny said, "like a real dog should." Merlin lay down and started to chew on the tennis ball. "Merlin, no," Parker called. "Quit eating the tennis ball. Bring it back here, Merlin. Bring the ball." Merlin's ears scooted forward, and he raised his head to look at Parker. His tail thumped on the grass. Then he went back to chewing on the ball. "We're still working on fetching part of fetch," Parker said sheepishly to me and Dad. Buttons finally caught up to Merlin. She ran right up to his front paws and poked his nose with her nose. Surprised, Merlin sat up. Buttons grabbed the tennis ball in his mouth and trotted away with it. Her tail and nose were held high, and she was rather proud of herself. "Hey," Danny said, "she stole his ball." "That's okay, I brought more," Parker said. "She can have it if she wants." Buttons trotted away all the way down Dog Run to us and dropped the ball at Danny's feet. Then she sat down and looked up at him with a pleased expression on his face. "What?" Danny said to her. "I think she wants you to throw it again," Troy said. "Yeah, whatever," Danny said, crossing his arms. Buttons tilted her head to the side and then pulled at his sneaker. Oh, come on, Danny. Danny, throw the ball for her, Parker said. How can I say no to that face, Troy said. I looked over at Dad, and he grinned at me. I want to jump in and take the ball and throw it myself, but finally Danny bent down and picked it up. She doesn't really know what she's doing, he said. I bet she won't do it again. He tossed a tennis ball just a little distance away. Immediately, Button sprinted over and grabbed it. Again, she came trotting back and dropped it at Danny's feet. Holy cow, Parker said. She can fetch. She fetches way better than Merlin. At the other end of the dog run, Merlin was rolling gleefully in a pile of leaves. And she's only a puppy, I said proudly. It's instinctive, Dad said. Some dogs are natural fetchers. Danny didn't say anything. He's just kind of looked at Buttons for a while. Some dogs are natural fetchers. Danny didn't say anything. He just looked of kind of looked at Buttons for a while. She wagged her tail at him. Actually, because she was so excited, it was more like she wagged her whole butt. Well, I think you're lucky, Troy said to Danny. I'd rather have a silly-looking dog than no dog at all. At all, totally, Eric said, which wasn't exactly the ringing praise I thought Buttons deserved, but it was still better than Danny. Grumbling and refusing to play with her, finally Danny picked up the ball and threw it again, farther this time, Buttons shot after it. She had to catch it in order to save the world. She pounced on it as if it rolled and it shot out from between her paws. Yipping indignantly, she chased after it and pinned it down, then brought it back to triumph. Merlin, Parker called. Come on, boy, you can do this. You can do this too. Maybe Buttons will set a good example for him. Merlin thought about it for a long time, and then even eventually decided to come back and grace us with his presence. Parker took out another tennis ball, let him sniff it, and threw it for him in the opposite direction from Button's ball. Merlin started to lope toward it, but Buttons apparently decided Danny wasn't throwing fast enough because she dropped her ball at Danny's feet, raced past Merlin, and grabbed his ball, too. The big golden dog poked his nose at her. He was thinking about trying to get it back, but Buttons jumped away, stuck her tail in his face, and came galloping back to us. Wow, she's just like Rosie, Parker said. Just like me, I said. What? Look at her bossing Merlin around. Look at her. Wait, no. Wow, she's just like Rosie, Parker said. Just like me, I said. What? Look at her bossing Merlin around, Parker said, laughing. It's just like you and Danny. I started to say, but then Buttons bounced at Merlin's head again. The bigger dog jumped back with a goofy, startled face, and it made me laugh. Plus, you can tell everyone's going to spoil her rotten. Danny said, just like they spoil Rosie. They do not, I said. Another bossy little princess in her house, Troy said. Another bossy little princess in your house, Troy said. That's totally hilarious. Yeah, Danny said. I guess it's kind of funny. Then Danny wasn't looking. Wait, what the? Then I wasn't sure. When Danny wasn't looking, Dad gave me a fist bump and a wink. I wasn't sure how I felt about it though. I liked the idea that Buttons and I something in common, and I guess it was a good thing if my brothers all liked it. I watched Danny throwing the tennis ball for Buttons, and it made me think that it would be easier to keep her happy and well behaved. If all more than she liked me. What if they took her away from me? Still, said Parker and Danny, she made me kind of warm and glowy inside. Maybe Buttons was more like me. And then I thought maybe she really was my dog, even if my brothers liked her too. Even if my brothers liked her too. Chapter 16. Last chapter, guys. We played with Buttons for almost an hour, and by then she was definitely getting tired. The last time Danny threw the tennis ball, she started to chase it, but halfway there she flopped down on the grass and stretched out her nose between her front paws. Merlin went over to sniff her and batted playfully at his nose without getting up. We should let the puppy get some rest, Dad said. Yeah, get some rest, Dad said. Ready to go home, Rosie? Ready to go home, Rosie? Yeah, okay, I said. We left the boys there with Merlin. I noticed that Dad patted Button's head as she trotted past him, and so did Eric, which just confirmed all my plans for him too. I ended up carrying Buttons most of the way home. She went all floppy in my arms and rested her head and front paws on my shoulder. I could hear head and front paws on my shoulder. I could hear her little snurzing noises, hear my ears and fluffy fur. Fur was soft and warm under my hands, and I didn't even mind that there were twigs and bits of grass caught in it. You know what's funny, Dad said. I was thinking about what the guys said back there was truth. It's when we brought you home as a baby. All the boys had the same reaction to you that they did to Buttons. Like, what is that small fluffy creature? A sister. A sister. She's going to be no fun at all. No, thank you. But then they even warmed up to you. Just like they did to Buttons. You clearly turned out to be a whole lot of fun. And now, of course, they all like you the way you are. They did. I snuggled Buttons closer to me. Not as much as they like Buttons, though, I said. Dad tugged on my ponytail. Well, they do like. Well, who do you like? Who do you like better? He said. Buttons of them. I laughed. Buttons defiantly. Mom let me sleep in on Sunday. She snuck into my room and got Buttons so the puppy wouldn't wake me up, and I didn't sleep very late. But when I came downstairs, I found Carlos in the kitchen, trying to teach Buttons to roll over. She seemed pretty confused. He would get onto her back, and then she kind of lay there with her ears flopped back and blinked at him like, "Is that what you want?" "Goofy dog," Carlos said to her. Keep rolling, she wriggled around so her head was tilting. She was tilting the other way at him. "Okay, good try," he said, letting her have the treat. "I think I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I should check the internet for tips." Which was hilarious because normally Carlos thinks he's doing everything right, and it's the rest of us getting it wrong. I poured myself a bowl of cereal and sat on a stool on the island next to Oliver. He also had a bowl of cereal in front of him, but he was just kind of staring into space with a loopy smile. I could tell he'd been doing that for a while because the cereal was all soggy. I waved my spoon in front of his face, and he jumped. "Oh, hey." "Oh, hey," he said. "Oh, Rosie." "Yeah, that's me," I said. "I was thinking," he said, "do you and Buttons want to go for a walk with me and Miru today?" I stared at him. "Seriously, me? No, wait," Miguel yelled, popping into the kitchen from the den. "She can't. They have to come to the cheerleaders' car wash with me." "We do?" I said. Come on, Rosie," Miguel pleaded. "If we show up with Buttons, I bet Catalin and Sarah will talk to me again. Maybe Emma will too." "But you don't have a car," I pointed out. Or you know a license. "Yeah, and besides, I want to go to the park with Rosie and Buttons today," Carlos said. I nearly fell off my stool and this had never happened to me before in my whole entire life. "Are you guys making fun of me?" I asked. "Oh, no," Carlos said. Like I was the one being weird. "I want to see Buttons will chase things and or catch them all in the air or any of the stuff. "She will," Danny said, clattering down the stairs. "She's great at it, Rosie. I'm going to hang out with Parker and Merlin again today. Want to come?" Stop, Oliver said in his Mr. Responsible voice. "I asked her first. Rosie and Buttons are hanging out with me and Miru. But they can do that any day." Miguel said. "The cheerleaders' car wash is only today. Didn't you already say you get Rosie and Buttons every Thursday?" Carlos pointed out. "That sounds like every cheerleader time to me." "Yeah, well, you said you were going to go to an obedience class with them," Danny said, "so I think I should get to hang out with them on weekends. And then Parker and Merlin are free." My brothers are starting to argue at once. I couldn't believe it. They were fighting over me. They all wanted to hang out with me. Me and Buttons. But we came together. We were a pair. That's how my brothers saw us. They wanted both of us. I didn't even care who won. because I was winning most of all. Buttons came over and poked my foot with her nose. I picked her up and she snuggled into me. Licking my chin, I realized I didn't care if she got muddy sometimes or knocked things over or made a mess. She was still my dog. You know what buttons, I whispered to her. You're not so bad after all. She wagged her tail and went ruff, as if she were saying, yeah, I know. The end. Wait, is that? Yep, the end. So guys, I hope you enjoy the next book that I might be getting at my library at school. Might be Pet Trouble. Bulldog Won't Budge. So, let's see. It gives you a sneak peek, which I am gonna read like a little bit of it, so you won't know too much. So, let's see. I pressed my nose to the glass door. I squinting the rain. There was a bulldog sitting right outside. He was staring in at me like I was staring out at him. I've never seen a glummer face. I mean, I think that's kind of a funny word, glum, but that was the first thought that popped out of my head when I saw his dog face. He wasn't sad. He wasn't gloomy. He was definitely glum. His little dark brown ears dropped his head. His big broad shoulders drooped. His long floppy jaws drooped. His forehead was wrinkled in a worried way, and his sad brown eyes seemed to be saying, "Why am I so wet and so alone and so abandoned and so very, very wet?" For a moment, I thought he was just hanging out on the sidewalk for no reason. But when I realized he was wearing a red leash, and the red leash was tied to a vegetable front door, I thought I should run back and get my mom, but I didn't want to leave him in the pouring rain, even 1 second longer. So that's all I'm gonna tell you. And I am trying to find the boy's or girl's name. Wait, he immediately tried to climb it. Oh. It must be Parker, I guess. It might be Parker. Yeah, I think where. Yeah, it's Eric. It's Eric. Yeah, it's Eric, guys. This is gonna be Eric in the story, and in the next book. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you enjoyed this book. I liked it. I liked it too, cause it was Buttons was so cute, and on the back cover she's digging into a pot of flowers. It's so cute. And guys, I hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Bye. See you next time. Also, you had a sneak peek of Bulldog Won't Budge. Bye. See you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment all down below. Bye. Tune in for the next videos. See you next time, guys. Bye.